So if you want to hear an irony-laced story, whenever you're driving back from the landfill, somebody swerves into your lane and you have to swerve to the shoulder, and your tire hits the curb really, really hard from the side, enough to gouge into the Alcoa wheel, it leaves you pretty frustrated. And the irony behind this story is the fact that I just got rid of my Goodyear tires that fit these rims. So I'm going to be using a spare, but had I not gotten rid of those tires, they would have fit these rims. But we'll just use a spare and end up getting a new tire for this. But the crazy portion of this is I felt the impact whenever we hit the curb, but I didn't feel anything awkward from that point on. And I hit hard enough that I knew something had to have happened. I thought that maybe the tire would have been damaged. I did not think that the tire and rim would have been damaged like that. Hopefully I didn't hit hard enough that something else could have possibly broken. I don't think it did. I think we're fine, but it was definitely enough to eat a big hole in a J-rated tire. So this is a J load range tire. This thing is absolutely a beast of a tire, and the Alcoa wheel is pretty dang damaged, but the internal bead isn't, so I think we're okay to reuse that. Thankfully, folks at Texas Pride included an Alcoa spare with the same tire on it, so we're just going to get all this mounted up. But just want to give you an update on the drama taking place this morning. Okay, so just like any other proper mountain biker, I have tons of takeoff parts. What are takeoff parts? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. They're parts that I've taken off of other bikes, or parts that I've purchased with the intent to put on a bike, and they never made their way onto a bike for one reason or another. With mountain bike components, sometimes you find a really crazy deal on something, and then you realize it's not exactly what you want, so you start accumulating. I think that goes for just about anybody with a shop, or with an RV, or with a truck, or anything else. And you pass that return period, or it's just not returnable, and you end up stuck with stuff that you figure you may use someday. Well, that someday is quickly approaching, and I wanted to go over just a few of the takeoff parts that I have out here. Now, I have more at the house, and I haven't brought them out here yet, but just to give you kind of a sample of some of the things that I have out here. Probably the most notable thing is this fork right here. I believe this is a Revolution, a RockShox Revolution. It has 160 millimeters of travel, which is kind of strange because the bike that we'll be upgrading only has 110 millimeters of claimed travel, but when I measured the fork out, it's a 140 millimeter fork. And this is going to be a huge upgrade. This is an air fork. It's adjustable. I have rebound as well as compression. This is a tapered fork or tapered head tube up here, which is really important for your higher end bikes. Well, because you can't fit anything else without adapters on lower end bikes. That said, really, really cool fork. I'm excited to put this on. It is e-mountain bike rated. This is actually the fork that came off of my Cannondale. So we'll be repurposing this relatively high-end fork. This is about a $450 fork. So we'll be repurposing this on the Truxus. Now, I have 3 handlebars here, and I have 2 at the house, but these are likely going to be my candidates here. Now, they are different diameter mounts. So this is a 35 millimeter, this is 31.8, and then this is also 35. So the difference here is they're all race face. This is the turbine. I forgot which one this is, but this is the next, and this is carbon fiber. So there's a huge, huge, huge weight difference between these two and this one. I have some race face Get a Grip grips that I may use. I also have some race face grips here, and these are some ergon grips that I have as well. Pedals, got a lot of pedals. I got some XT mountain biking pedals here. I have some Shimano. Those are Shimano. These are Shimano. These are kind of hybrid. They have clipless on one side and they have platform on the other. And then I have these, which are one-up pedals, and these are absolutely fantastic. So these will likely be the pedals that go on. I don't clip in typically whenever I ride mountain biking. I know some people do, but I don't. But I do have these in case I want to go that route. Dropper post, I have a Trans X dropper post right here. If you don't know what that is, that's a seat post, and you can control it with a remote lever that allows you to raise it or lower it by sitting on it and raising it with the lever that I have. This is really cool, and this is definitely going to come in handy. Let's see if there's any room. Nope, it's already up. I have a really, really nice WTB Pure saddle. This is what I put on all of my bikes because I absolutely love it. Very, very comfortable saddle. And then I have 2 shocks for the center. So I have this really, really nice Canecrete double barrel air. This is cool. This is designed for 100, I forgot exactly what the travel on this one is. They don't mark it real well. But I'm hoping I can actually retrofit this or get this one to work on the bike. So the Truxus, I believe they claim 110 millimeters of rear travel. I don't know if that's entirely true. It appears that there's maybe only about a 15 millimeter distance gap between the eyelets fitting, so we'll probably try to fit this on. The RockShox that I have here, this is the Deluxe Select. This one is also an air shock, but it's significantly longer in terms of the body right here. So the amount of compression I'm going to get is going to be a lot different, and I'll kind of compare, and you can see the body right here is significantly longer than the body right there. So we'll probably put this Cane Creek, which is a super high-end air shock for a dual suspension mountain bike. So I was going through some of the things that I have, specifically bikes, and I was looking at this Lippert Gladiator e-bike I did a review on about 2 years ago. Now, I don't ride this bike hardly at all, and I was considering getting rid of it. And while I was doing that, I was like, well, how much did these things sell for? Well, when this bike was first reviewed on my channel, it went for $2,000, $1,999. And at the time, people actually thought that that was a reasonable price, considering it's a pedal assist e-mountain bike. It has a brand name Suntour XCM front fork. It's a coil sprung heavy front fork, but at least it's from a reputable brand. It's got hydraulic disc brakes on it. It's got some components, Shimano components, and other things that definitely make this nicer than your typical $2,000, $1,500 to $2,000 e-mountain bike. A lot of folks said, it's a decent value, but it's not a great value. But then I had people leave comments on that video a year later saying that Lippert had brought the price down to $1,000, which that was actually a screaming deal. I mean, that was a really good deal, considering the battery alone is probably a $300 battery. All right, the front fork on it is probably a $50 to $100 fork. Plus some of the other components added up made $1,000 for this bike a screaming good deal. Well, get this. I was just kind of shopping around to see how much these bikes were going for today. And apparently Lippert didn't really feel as if this was their space, even though whoever they licensed with to make this mountain bike did a pretty good job, because it has components that can easily be upgraded. You could easily upgrade to a better front suspension fork. You could easily put a better stem, handlebars, brakes, derailleurs. You could really make this thing a pretty phenomenal bike, and you could do it for a relatively affordable price. Now, when I was shopping around to see what this bike is currently selling for, get this. I found out that because they're getting out of e-mountain bikes, they have the last remaining models of this available on Amazon for under $400. That is a you better get it as soon as possible deal, because that is a ridiculous price for an e-mountain bike pedal assist with relatively decent components for that price point. That is a screaming deal. That is a deal that if you are looking for a base entry level kind of e-mountain bike, but with components that can be upgraded on a relatively decent frame, that's a price point that you can't turn down. It is absolutely ridiculous that this bike now is under $400 because the folks at Lippert are trying to get out of the e-mountain bike world. Now, some people are going to make jokes and they're going to say things about the frame, and they're going to, base this off of other stuff that's going on. But Lippert doesn't actually manufacture an e-bike. When they did this, this was a licensing thing. This was them working with a major e-bike manufacturer to turn out an e-bike that they thought was going to be competitive at that $2,000 price point, and them simply putting their name on it. So if you're looking for an e-mountain bike and you're looking for something that's going to be a really insanely good value, get the bike. I mean, there's like 3 of them left at the time that I filmed this. Totally worth it. You should get it. The components alone on it are worth more than that price, which means that the battery, the drive components, and everything else are just a bonus. And you will not find a better value for a relatively well-equipped, at a $2,000 price point, e-bike for under $400. And that's just because, again, they're completely getting out of the Gladiator series of e-bikes. You can't even get to any of that information hardly at all anymore, and it was hard enough to find any documentation on it. But totally worth getting. It's prime, which means you can return it if you hate it. But I really think you'd be happy if you got one of those bikes. It's a screaming good deal, and I just felt I had to make a video talking about it. Anyways, guys, sure hope you enjoyed the video. We're still doing upgrades on the Truxus e-mountain bike over here. A lot of cool stuff going on there, but this right now is a screaming value that you definitely want to take advantage of if you have that chance. Guys, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very soon.